In an urban terrorist situation, such as exists in Belfast today, the observation post, by giving advance warning of a situation before it develops, enables the security forces to dominate the terrorists.
But victory eluded the Brits for political reasons. To inflict a military defeat on the IRA would have required measures inappropriate in a liberal democracy. A more subtle approach had to be found.
You've got, in the end, to find some way of stopping terrorism. We are a democracy. We can't go around shooting everybody we think is a terrorist. I mean, which is certainly one possible way of doing it. But I mean, nobody in this country would have stood for that. And we are a parliamentary democracy, and we did behave throughout as a parliamentary democracy, which is a very, very important point. But if the political situation made it possible, one should never discount the need to have a dialogue, although one should be extremely careful and extremely clear about what you were trying to do if you did enter a dialogue.
In 1974, MI6 learned that some members of the IRA's Army Council might be interested in talking. In the utmost secrecy, the government put out tentative feelers. The emissary was the MI6 officer stationed in the province, Michael Oatley. This is the first time he's talked publicly about his role. By the beginning of that year, over 200 soldiers had been killed.
I was very conscious of the attrition rate against the British Army. I remember one day picking up a copy of the Observer colour supplement, which had a 2-page spread, I think it was the Observer, of passport photos, or perhaps slightly smaller, to get them all on the 2 pages of all the soldiers who had been shot, perhaps in the previous 12 months or perhaps longer, and thinking that if I was going to spend 2 years or longer in Northern Ireland, I ought perhaps to try to concentrate on seeing whether my particular skills and background could enable me to find a way to influence the leadership of the IRA, or to make some kind of contact through which they could be influenced. I found, by spending time in Republican areas, what was to me quite a surprise, that the quality of the young people joining the IRA was very impressive. I mean, you could go to a street in the Cregan and find that everybody's favourite son had joined the IRA, and however much their mothers might disapprove of what they were doing or be frightened by it, that was what happened.
Oatley's link through to the IRA was via a secret contact in Derry who acted as an intermediary with the Army Council. The communication was highly sensitive.
I had established what you might think of as a hollow bamboo pipe between me and somebody significant on the Republican side, down which nothing was being said, but that if one sort of blew down it gently, the person at the end could feel the pressure and blow back. So I went to my boss, in effect Sir Frank Cooper, and said, look, I've done this. I haven't really stepped very far out of line. I've got this bamboo pipe. I haven't said anything down it, but I know that if I do say anything down it, it'll be heard. And in any case, it's quite a nice pipe. Can we perhaps put a bit of material down it to see if we can develop a relationship? Anyway, the net result of this was that over the next...
What did Sir Frank say?
You would have to ask Sir Frank what his position was.
Well, my own view is that if you're dealing with a terrorist organisation, at some remove, you always ought to have a dialogue going with any terrorist organisation. Because, I mean, the basic problem about terrorism is it's very difficult to snuff out.
Although the messages indicated the IRA was interested in peace, it escalated its campaign, slaughtering 21 civilians in Birmingham pubs. But despite the atrocity, Oatley persevered. Finally, at the beginning of 1975, the IRA declared an extended ceasefire, and serious negotiations began. Astonishingly, the British put structures of disengagement on the agenda.
When asked what I was prepared to discuss, I said I'm prepared to discuss anything you like.
Including structures of withdrawal from Ireland.
Whatever that may mean.
To the IRA, structures of disengagement meant British withdrawal from Northern Ireland. Structures of disengagement, I assume, meant something different to the British. You weren't talking about withdrawal from Northern Ireland. By structures of disengagement, you meant what?
We meant, without any dispute, a disengagement of the army. And the thinning down of the army. That's what we meant by disengagement.
But the phrase structures of disengagement from Ireland or withdrawal from Ireland is neatly ambiguous, isn't it? It can mean one thing to them and something entirely different to you.
Well, I think that was the nature of our dialogue. And I think that the ambiguity was recognized by both sides so that each could make what it wanted from it.
By the end of 1975, the ceasefire was over. The IRA felt they'd been conned. The government, they concluded, had no intention of making a political withdrawal. The Brits had put great pressure on the IRA, but not enough to make it give in or compromise. The future looked bleak, and it wasn't lost on an IRA man captured by his enemy. The long war loomed.
He said to me, "Well," he said, "one day you're going to lose this." He said, "We'll keep fighting as long as it takes." He said, "Because one day you're going to get a government." And these are the words he said. "You're going to get a government one day that are going to be soft enough to give us what we want, as long as we keep going." It's come true, hasn't it?
In an hour here on UK TV History, we're following the search for the Queens of the Nile. Next, though, we explore more secrets of the ancients and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon.